as a result of this very heavy work ethic that was instilled in me, I learned to just work and not just do any work. You know, as they say in Spanish, no cochinadas. You know, like it had to be very proper and very perfect. You know, my dad said, your name's on it, then it better be the best it can be because that's your name on it. So my parents instilled a deep pride on what I put my name on. So as a result of that, academically, I was usually top of my class, always top 10, so to speak. When I graduated from high school, I was valedictorian, presidents of clubs, captain of teams, always aspiring to do the most I could. And that led me to my path. I went to college. I went to UC Davis. I graduated in 4 years. I interned in Washington, D.C. I did all the prestigious internships. I did everything that I should and could. And it's led me to this point.
Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Small Guy on Main Street podcast, YouTube channel, social media. This channel and platform is made to show and express the stories of small business owners and entrepreneurs currently in the Los Angeles area. This is to help them and give them the opportunity to express their stories. I believe everyone has a story to tell, and that's why this platform is here, for them to share their stories. So follow me on this journey to get more of small business owners and entrepreneurs that are in your local community. I greatly appreciate your following and your support. Thank you. Please follow, subscribe, share, and promote this if you get any value off of this, right? Please. I'm counting on you. They're counting on you. We're all counting on you. Don't forget to follow me and the guests on social media. You can reach me at smallguy_on_Main Street. And that pretty much falls on all social medias there.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of Small Guy on Main Street. Today, I am here with Stuart Santana, founder of Santana Real Estate Team, primary focus in San Gabriel Valley, but homegrown from Covina. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having us.
No, thank you for being here. How's the summer treating you? How's the heat?
The heat is good, but it also translates into real estate. I think we do about 60% of our transactions in 3 months out of the year. So summer is a very stressful time for agents.
So tell me, what is Santana Real Estate Team?
We're a group of agents that banded together to provide honest, reliable, quality real estate services for everyone. We all have different backgrounds, Jorge Marquez, for instance, has got a background in local government in Covina. We have Bree Rizzo, and she has a background from credit union banking. She worked fraud. And then you have myself, who has a background in construction and development. And we all join forces. We have different strengths, different weaknesses, and we have really good synergy because we complement each other. And we provide a quality experience for the client. To date, we've had no complaints from our clients, 100% satisfaction rate. And we work with everyone, whether it's your first home and it's like a $250,000 condo, or if it's a moving up home in the $1 million+ range. We've had the benefit and absolute pleasure of helping everyone with everything in between.
Great. So, main focus, or not main focus though, one of the parts is that your office is here in the San Gabriel Valley, but does not mean you're limited to here, right?
Correct.
Where can you operate, or where do you operate?
So we technically, a real estate license in California is good for the whole state.
Okay.
Have we ever sold real estate all over the state? Not quite. It'd be nice if someday we could say we sold a property in every city in this state. I mean, that would be pretty incredible. But to reach that point, of course, we would have to recruit talent in, different markets and, just have essentially little satellite posts. And, maybe we aspire to do that. But for now, we are primarily concentrating in Southern California. We have successfully sold property from San Diego all the way up to the Santa Clarita area. And that's kind of been our geographic focus. We have an especially heavy emphasis in the San Gabriel Valley, though, because we all grew up here. This is where we know people, and these are the places we're most familiar with. And then beyond the San Gabriel Valley, of course, we've done a lot of business in LA proper, the IE. So we're kind of everywhere, OC, anywhere we can get to. And the benefit of having a team, as I mentioned, is you're not subject to just my schedule. So I had run into an issue where it's like, well, shucks, if I have a client up in the high desert, for instance, in Victorville, okay, now I have to go from Victorville to another client maybe in Riverside, to another client maybe in Anaheim, to another client maybe in downtown LA. And I can't get to all those places one day because there's so much traffic. Yeah. So the solution was we created a team, and now we can be everywhere in theory because we schedule. Yeah. You have 4 agents at your disposal. We all have different schedules, and pretty much if you need something in a pinch, someone from our team will be available to provide it to you.
Great. Now, right, you have your team, but you work under a broker.
Correct.
Which is a RE/MAX, right?
Our brokerage here is RE/MAX 2000.
Now, what is it? Is it something that should matter to the client of who the broker may be? Because I mean, you for the client, right? For the home buyer, home seller, right? Directly, they deal with the agent. Let's say if it will be you, but why would it matter if they go from one to the other? Is there any difference?
There are advantages, and it's the reason why we chose to partner up with RE/MAX over all the competitors out there. And there are a lot of good brokerages out there, big and small. Yeah. But the reason why we joined RE/MAX is the company culture. This is a company where the agents are very supportive of one another. I get this general feeling that there's less greed, among our people here in the RE/MAX organization. Every RE/MAX agent we've met, in-state, out-of-state, because we do attend the RE/MAX conventions, it's just very, very positive, very forward. They'll tell you, hey, you know what, this is working for me if you ask. I've spoken to a lot of agents from other brokerages, and there seems to be a little less of that camaraderie. The additional benefit is of all the real estate franchises, RE/MAX agents typically close more transactions than any other. So this was a producer-oriented brokerage for producers like ourselves that are very active and that we take real estate very seriously. So we feel very comfortable here. So to further answer your question is, why would the company matter that you're, for instance, selling a home with? It comes down to resources too. RE/MAX is a company that has international reach. Everyone kind of knows about RE/MAX. The hot air balloon is iconic. Yes. Everyone recognizes that logo. So when I was an agent with another brokerage, once upon a time, small company, I found that bridging that I don't know you gap, right? I don't know you, I don't know who you are, and then I've never heard of your brokerage. People weren't even giving me a chance, because they were like, I don't even know if you're legit. I don't know if you know what you're doing. You work for this rinky-dinky-janky little company, and I understood that. So the moment that we switched over to RE/MAX, we suddenly had an extra level of credibility. A lot of people are looking for RE/MAX agents specifically because of that history of being good producers, good agents, good realtors. Now, I'm not saying that every agent in RE/MAX is number one and the best, but primarily you will consistently find a quality agent with the RE/MAX brand.
Okay. Yeah, I see. Great. Now, before joining RE/MAX, right? You were by yourself. You didn't have the Santana team.
Correct.
How was that experience? How was that experience of you, right, being one person, to compare then having the team? Can you describe that?
Yeah, I touched on that a little bit earlier. It was like I'm running around all day, like a chicken head cut off. My days are jam-packed. I was working 12, 14 hours a day. I was putting a little stress in my marriage because I was just never home. I was always working. And I reached a point where I said, the cost benefit is not there anymore. I'm working heavy hours. I'm being compensated for it, but I'm miserable. I'm unhappy, and I'm just making the rich richer, essentially. So that's when I completely changed my business model, And I left that world of heavy project management, portfolio restructuring, cash flow analysis, and entered the more retail side of real estate because we want to help people purchase their first home, purchase their first investment. So I know the media is always portraying and saying, and you also see it a lot in social media where people are like, oh, it's impossible to own a home in California. It just can't be done. Well, to that, I say, why is the majority of our business first-time home buyers?
Yeah.
Can be done. You just need a little structure, you need a little help, and we give all of our clients complimentary consultations. You know, if you just have the desire to own, we will sit here with you, and the typical consultation takes anywhere from 1 to 2 hours. And we go in depth and we put together a plan and we make it happen. You know, we've had clients we've nurtured for, like I mentioned, 1 year, 2 years. We've never gone past 2 years yet, right? But you never know. And these clients are so grateful. They're so happy because someone took the time to help them.
Yeah.
You know, too many times in business, a business person wants it now. Well, are you a client? Do you have value to me now? Then I'll give you time. But they're not willing to put in that time, invest that time in to nurture that lead because, hey, a seed becomes a tree, right? So we make a forest of buyers in this. You know, we want to help everyone own a piece of California. Because, and I genuinely believe this in my heart, it's only going to get more difficult. You know, when I was first working in real estate, I was 15 years old. That was a long time ago. And I distinctly remember that we could help 2 minimum wage incomes purchase a home. Nowadays, that's impossible.
Oh, yeah.
It's just impossible. You can't do it. You know, you can have 4 minimum wage incomes and it's not enough. You know, so that tells me it's getting harder and harder and harder, but it's still not impossible.
Right. Nothing is impossible. It's just, of course, how you could tackle such a thing, right? What are your options? And if you don't know your options, then that's where you may come in, or other professionals. But if you don't talk with anybody, then
it's impossible.
Right. Then it's impossible because
right.
just of what you know, right? But other people may have experienced that, may have solutions, may have encountered or talk to other people. So that's the beauty on that. It's just, you don't know what you don't know, and talking to the right team, the right person could really help you see what are the possibilities and what needs to be done.
Correct.
Okay. Now, tell us, who is Stuart? Can you tell us something about yourself?
Sure. Well, from a very young age, I was taught, I'm a first generation American, so I was raised by, Mexican parents. And I was raised in a very traditional Mexican home. So my growing up in the U.S. was very interesting. I went to school, for instance, I went to kindergarten, I didn't even speak English.
Yeah.
And when people hear that, they're like, what? You didn't even speak English in kindergarten, but your English is so decent. And I'm like, well, anything, you can do anything. And my parents were very poor, and I got this whole life experience, and now I think back and I'm like, did that ever happen? No, it definitely happened because I'm so far away from it. And that's the beauty that this country affords, and that's why so many people want to come here, is because for a working person, for someone that has passion, direction, you can still accomplish a lot in this country. And again, I'm very biased because I love this country, but as a result of this very heavy work ethic that was instilled in me, I learned to just work and not just do any work. As they say in Spanish, no cochinadas. Like, it had to be very proper and very perfect. My dad said, your name's on it, then it better be the best it can be because that's your name on it. So my parents instilled a deep pride on what I put my name on. So as a result of that, academically, I was usually top of my class. Always top 10, so to speak. When I graduated from high school, I was valedictorian, presidents of clubs, captain of teams, always aspiring to do the most I could. And that led me to my path. I went to college. I went to UC Davis. I graduated in 4 years. I interned in Washington, D.C. I did all the prestigious internships. Like, I did everything that I should and could. And it's led me to this point. I initially wanted to be an attorney. I was thinking about running for office. But upon meeting attorneys and politicians in DC, I realized some pretty stark things. One was I'm too poor to be here. These guys are beyond rich. I mean, it's insane. But that's another conversation, right? Second thing was I just didn't feel comfortable with the people. I didn't think they were that genuine or that they were that caring. It was a very weird environment because where I come from, it's like a village mentality. It's like, hey, we're all helping each other out. We're all struggling in the trenches. We're all going to make things happen. We're not eating. You're not eating. We're all taking cuts. But there it was very, very different. It was like a starkly different world. So I got a little jaded. I said, oh man, I don't want to run for office. I don't want to become an attorney. I don't understand this mentality, this working. What can I do that's legal-ish that won't waste my education? And I found real estate. I was like, hey, real estate gets a bad rap. There are a lot of bad apples in real estate. You'll hear stories for days, and I'm not going to say they don't exist because they do. And that's the toxic environment essentially that we operate in. But there are some good players here. And I realized that I could make an honest living in real estate. If I provide good service, they're going to refer me and they're going to be very happy to, because like I mentioned, there's not a lot of great agents in our field. I don't know why that is. Me and my team, sometimes we discuss that maybe it's how easy it is to get your license. All you need is a high school education. And then the coursework for the license itself is very simple. So I'm a fan of maybe, creating some additional coursework or having like, hey, you need to take some kind of internship or apprenticeship or something, just so that the agents that come out, there's a reason why I think it's like 90-something% of all agents stop being agents within the first couple of years of their career. Wow. It's a very, very tough field. Everyone goes in and they think it's easy, but it's actually very, very challenging, very hard. But these are more like industry conversations, and I apologize for deviating.
No. But I mean, that gives us insight to your mind, right? Of who you are, in a sense, and how you seeked out your professional career, right? And what you wanted to be, right? Because from your upcomings, of course, I'm guessing your father was a blue collar, right?
Yeah.
Like many,
construction, yeah.
Like many of ours, immigrant parents, and they come in and they have to physically do the work, right?
Correct.
And then, of course, they want something better for you, right? They say, you don't have to do this. You don't have to beat your body up physically, right? And mentally too. Get educated, get an office job, do something maybe more meaningful, right? And of course, that like I said, you went and you tested the waters, if not in Washington, D.C. or other areas, and you got a feel for it. And you say, you know what, this just doesn't sit right. It's not, who you are is not part of you or what you can become.
At that time. Yeah.
At that time. But of course, then you still saw a way that you could serve the people, right? And do an honest living. But tell me, you, on your social medias, you work construction, right?
Yeah,
where
my youth.
In your youth, what stage was that? Before you went to UC Davis?
Oh yeah, before. Yeah, so going back to the immigrant, household thing, I look at my son, he's 12 years old. And at his age, I was welding.
Nice.
So my father taught me everything there was to teach because, he did eventually become a general contractor. Back then, the market was very saturated with that type of work. So it's kind of interesting how different my life would have been if I was a child today. Now the blue collar worker, as you called it, is worth more than an office worker.
Yes.
There's a huge demand for contractors because like everybody, it was so saturated before that it completely got skinny, so to speak, and now there's very few. And it's like, oh man, now you have to wait months for someone versus before you were bidding against 8-10 other guys and everybody was doing it. And it was like, oh my gosh, how things changed. Yeah. But yes, I did everything, by the age of 15, which is pretty much when I stopped, started to break away from doing actual work in construction. I was doing electrical work and, the last thing for me was I was on a site with my dad. and he cut, his fingers, and they were dangling from his hand. And I said, I can't do this anymore. Like, it's a matter of time. I'd already fallen off a roof once or twice. I'd already been electrocuted a couple times. I already burned myself a couple times, because these are just hazards of the job.
Yeah.
I'd come home covered in dust and paint and,
all kinds of material.
all kinds of material. Back then, popcorn ceilings were popular. That's why I laugh, because now, like, everybody's shaving them. I was like, dude, I installed so many of these myself. But styles change, trends change. And as a result of spending my, from the age of 5, because, you're not very skilled at the age of 5. But my dad handed me a little sledgehammer and said, your job is demo work. I was like, demo work? Okay, well, here we go. I'm out here knocking down walls, and little 5-6-year-olds do, taking trash. And I started from the ground up. So by the time, I finished, that construction life, it's like I could drywall, I could do framing, I could do electric, I could do everything. But it just wasn't my passion. I was more passionate about design, though, which is why in the first, 10 years of my real estate career, all I did was project management and things like that. I would redesign spaces. I would say, hey, let's fix this floor plan. I would sketch and, draw. And that's the value I give buyers today, is I have this wealth of knowledge and experience where I'm not just a salesman. There's a stark difference between just the salesman and the person that has built many homes, that has transformed many homes, that has done other things within real estate. And that includes vision. I can't tell you how many times I walk into a home and the floor plan sucks. I know you've seen a lot of these houses where the floor plan's like, dang, what were they thinking in the 1920s, 1930s? I mean, dang, dude, you got to walk through a bedroom to get to another room. Okay, man, I don't know. That's kind of tough. People don't like that anymore. So now when I walk into these homes and my buyers are like, nah, this floor plan sucks, I'm like, well, here's how we can fix it. And it won't even cost that much. And I can give them some rough numbers on cost, because, I'm always doing this, and say, hey, if you spend this much money, you can fix this. And we're going to have less competition, because everyone's looking for the low-hanging fruit. They're looking for that property that's perfect right off the bat. But if your budget is limited, you have to get creative. So it's important that you work with an agent that understands, that can tell you, guess what? This is the perfect property with these changes. And so many of our clients have put in that limit, that small amount of sweat equity into things, and they're very happy. And the beauty of California real estate is that it appreciates so much that you really are not trapped in your first home. You're going to scale that equity, and then you can roll it over into another property if you want to. So I tell people, hey, look, the first home, as romanticized as you want to make it, is probably not going to be your forever home. I know there's exceptions. There's some people that work hard, save that money to get exactly what they want, and then they stay there, for 30 years. That's rare. Most people are like, I'm going to get into what I can today. I'm going to keep saving, making these payments, stop throwing money away on rent, and then I'm going to transfer that equity as a larger down payment into the home that I really want. So sometimes it's a 1, 2, and sometimes 3-step process. And again, we work with every client on an individual basis to put together a plan for them so that they do end up in their dream home. Because we do want our clients to live in their forever home. We want to help them find that. We want to be a part of that journey.
The great thing for sure is the vision, right? Your experience, your background, and what can be made possible, right? Because first-time home buyers, of course, just because they're first-time home buyers, they like experience, they like vision, they like what the possibilities may be, right? But as they get down the line and buy 2, 3 homes, then they know they'll get that knowledge. But for you is to look. It's not, exactly right. It's not exactly what you want on the floor plan basis, but it does give you, the 3 bedrooms. It does give you the 2 baths. It gives you this large backyard. But, then you give them your, 2 cents of knowledge, right? And you say, look, this is what could possibly be done, right? And then you pretty much tell them the vision of what may come about from that situation. Right, and of course, if they see they're up to the task, then that's on them. But at least you gave them that option.
Exactly. We just give people more options, and then for people that really want to grow wealth faster, we even tell them how to develop their home. So one thing that I would do if I was a young person, looking to start gaining real estate wealth, is I would purchase a small home. You purchase a small home with land, with room to build. Now, right now, you can get new construction built, depending on who you talk to, for anywhere from $160 to $220. That seems to be like the spread for new construction.
Square foot?
Per square foot, correct. But if you look at the resale value of these square feet in any given neighborhood, anywhere around the SGV or anywhere desirable, to be perfectly frank, you're not paying less, regardless of size, than $300 and something a square foot.
Yeah.
In fact, most of them is $400, $500, $600 a square foot. So if you are investing, let's say somewhere in the middle, $195 a square foot, let's just say that's what you're paying. But your return on that investment is $400. That's the easiest way to double your money.
Yeah.
And the best part of that is that we give you the blueprint to do it. Not literally, you have to pay, an architect. But we tell you, this home sits in a neighborhood where the average size, because you never want to overbuild. Sometimes you go through a neighborhood and you see a house that's like a mansion surrounded by small homes. You don't want to be that mansion. You're going to lose value on that. So what you want is you want to find the sweet spot. So I believe in upper average. So if the average home, for instance, is, 1,800 square feet, then I would build something that's like, maybe 1,950, 2,000 square feet, just a little bit bigger than average. And then that's where you capitalize your funds. You're not overbuilding. You're hitting the sweet spot that everyone's looking for. And we tell you, you need to build 1 extra bedroom, 2 extra bedrooms, 1 extra bathroom, 2 extra bathrooms. And then we may even give you a hand sketch. This is how I would do it, in case you don't have any ideas. And then they could sit down with the designer and talk about the feasibility of it. But everything I come up with is always cost effective. Like, I know how to do these things at the lowest price. But then if you want certain special amenities and all that, that's where the price goes up. But again, that's something that you can do so that you enjoy your life in your home. Customize it to yourself. Do whatever you want. My own shower bench in my bathroom, I designed it for my height. So I'm comfortable. I sit there, I'm like, oh yeah,
Right.
this was designed for me. It's very custom. Now, if a much taller person comes by and be like, oh man, this is a small bench, it's like, well, tough, dude.
Well, no. Now that person will customize it to their liking, and
Exactly.
it'll go on, right? We always gonna do our touches.
Yeah,
too.
do your touches. If it's your forever home, go custom all the way. If it's a stepping stone, don't do it. Make it very universal, because your goal is to sell that, roll it over, grow, and just move up. I can't tell you how many families we helped that started in South Central LA. It's a pretty tough spot, But again, I don't care. I lived there. I lived in Compton once, for a while, and it's like, it was tough for sure, but you get used to it.
Yeah.
Watts and all. I've sold property in all these, tougher communities. And people have rolled it over. So they started in Watts, they moved to Compton, they moved to Southgate, and then before you know it, they're living where they want to live. There's a formula to it, and be happy to share this with anyone that is interested, but again, it has to be a one-on-one consultation, because there's no one size fits all for this type of business, unfortunately. It's always by the person. The variables are so different. The conditions are so different. The opportunities are different. Are you self-employed? Are you, wage earner? Even that is a huge distinction. The path for real estate varies so much. All those variables are a factor.
Yeah, that's true. Right, but of course, teaming up with the right person, with the right staff, right? It's gonna, should make it all better, right? Because, one of the things is real estate or buying your home. It is pretty much one of the most expensive investments, right?
For most people, it's the largest investment of their life.
Right.
Correct.
So it counts for a lot. It counts for a lot to have the right team, right?
Big time.
Tell me, how do you approach new home buyers? Is there a different approach you could approach first-time home buyers than ones that you have dealt with consecutively or recurring?
So, yes, because first, the newbie, right? The first timer,
Right.
a lot of questions,
Right.
a lot of fears, a lot of concerns. The process does take longer in that respect, but it's very much similar Once you submit your first offer, you explain it, they get comfortable with it, you submit your second offer, and also our industry average is escrow within 3 offers. So very consistently in your first 3 offers, we do typically get you into escrow, even in the tough market. Now there's outliers to this. There are some that we get them in on the first time. There's some we get them in on the 4th or 5th time. But for the vast majority, I'd say 90% plus, first 3 offers would get you into escrow. And people were very surprised during the COVID years when that market was wild. People were like, Stuart, how are you doing this? This is nuts. Everyone has been looking for 8 months, 6 months, a year. And I'm like, well, we just work really hard and we stay on top of data. So, if you're shopping for a real estate agent, make sure that they're very knowledgeable, very productive, very active with current market trends, because if your agent's closing 2-3 deals a year, they're not going to have that.
Now, one of the listeners goes by Linda Huera. She asks, what is something you wish first-time home buyers would ask? I know they ask many things that they don't know about the whole process, but what may be something more critical that is like only if they would ask this? I mean, you do your best to give them, but what is something you think?
Touching back on our earlier conversation, is I really do wish that all home buyers, first time or not first time, would say, what else can we do with this property? Because that's really my passion. It's like, oh, you want to know? I'd be happy to tell you what I would do if this was my property. But most people see their home as just a home. And I've tried for years to, have them entertain the idea of seeing it as an investment. But I find that in real estate, it's a very emotional thing. When you purchase your first home, it's like, wow, it's home. But me, I treated all of my properties, except for the one where I live now. Where I live now, that's a forever property. I will, knock on wood, die one day and hold that property till I die. My hope is my kids keep it too. We've over improved it. We made it very custom, But again, I did all those things because I love the place, not because it's a business. But all of my other properties were business. I did not treat them with that love attachment because I knew they were going to leave. So every improvement I did, every upgrade I did, every new construction we added, all of it was with the purpose of generating more income. So again, different mindset, different attitude, but I do wish that more first-time home buyers and, even second home buyers would say, how can we get the most juice out of this? How can we squeeze this so that we can buy something better next time?
Yeah. Right. From what you have, let's say, from any feedback or what you got for their clients that you have sold or other people you have dealt with, what's one of the most cost-effective changes somebody could do in their house? Would it be better if they had a closed living room? Would it be better doing an open concept kitchen? What do you think people have told you that's been the most?
So that's an interesting topic. If you read current modern day design magazines, they're all implying that the open concept is dead. And a lot of that is because supposedly more people are working from home, so they want things kind of quartered off. So you have a space to work and not be interrupted by day to day, right? The whole purpose of the open concept was inclusion. It was to have everything there, not about segregation or exclusion, complete opposite. So me, myself, I'm still a huge fan of the open concept. I like to walk into a home and feel like right when I walk in, I'm in the membrane. So for me, having the kitchen and the living room and the dining room in one area is absolutely essential. And for most of my clients, they agree, they feel the same way. So if you are into cooking, if you're into hosting, this open floor plan is of value to you. But if you're not into those things, an open floor plan is horrible for you because you rather have everything, kind of like an ice cube tray, separate, having its little place. So again, it just depends. Are you hosting parties? After this COVID thing, a lot of people stopped hosting parties. A lot of people are now like, no, we should keep some separation between the public and the home. But again, being raised as an immigrant and all that, like we are all about family, we're all about friends, we're all about inclusion. So I still continue to, host events, multiple times a month. Either for a small crowd or a large crowd. But the point is, we're just very social people. We have a lot of people to love, thank God, and we love to cook for them and just have them come into our homes.
Great. In your professional opinion, how does the market look now compared to this time last year?
Okay. So the market was slowing for a time. I would say probably March of last year, things started to slow down. And that's a combination of many factors. I'd argue primarily just the rising interest rate.
Right.
These rates are killer, man, and they're still going up. And supposedly the Fed's going to raise the rates some more. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. But what I can tell you is that the higher interest rates generally put negative pressure on housing because people are not looking at acquisition price. They don't care. If I were to say, hey, would you be interested in a $2 million house? You'd be like, I can't afford that. I'm like, what if the payment is $3,000? You're like, oh, I can't afford that. Because they're looking at the payment. They don't care about the purchase price. And that's kind of weird, right? That people disconnect. So right now, the monthly cost is so high because these interest rates are quite high.
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken, the historical average is like in the fives. When you look across all markets, low and high, the average is right around the fives. And to me, a 5%, 5 point something percent is a very fair rate. I purchased many properties and the rates were between 5 and 7% as well. But I always felt very comfortable in the fives. When they went below the fives, I think that was a strange thing. Will we ever see those rates again? I don't know.
Right.
But right now with the rates being in the high sixes and the low sevens, pretty much everywhere I've seen on my clients' pre-quals, I'm like, okay, these rates are pushing. My hope is that they don't go beyond 7 because then that's going to cause a lot of issues. Yeah, with that being said, the market has begun to actually warm up, which to me is interesting because the rates are pushing up, but I think people are tired of waiting.
Right.
They're waiting for the prices to drop, and then it's like it doesn't look like they're dropping anymore. So again, at the end of the day, basic market economics, supply and demand. We have a huge pent-up swell of demand. People that have been waiting for the rates to drop, and now they're like, we can't wait, we need a place, and we have very limited supply. We have very, very few properties in these areas. Like if you were to look up any city around here, if there's more than 20 active listings, that's surprising. Yeah. It's like, whoa, in the whole city, there's 20? But there's hundreds, plural, of buyers?
Right.
So you start getting bidding wars again. So we have noticed barely in the last couple months that the market is waking up again. Now, is this a temporary thing? I don't know. Is it the beginning of the next cycle? I don't know. But, I would be more comfortable in letting you know what I think in the slow months. So if we see a heavy winter frost, then the market's probably just, it's a temporary upside blip that's going to have no consequence. But if the winter market is very strong, then it probably is the beginning of a serious recovery on the pricing that was lost over that course of about a year and a half.
Now, I have read, I forgot what article was it exactly, but it was about real estate. And they said in real estate, there's cycles, almost like every other industry, right? At times there's supply and demand. But the cycle was that it will usually be cool on the winter, Thanksgiving, Christmas time.
Seasonal adjustments.
Yeah, right, the seasonal, it'll be less transactions. And then around the spring times when more buyers start coming out, some may use the tax refund, or some are already looking forward, getting things ready for their summer home. Summer, like as you mentioned earlier, because they may be transferring to different schools, so they got to think about their children in that sense and their vacation. Do you think that's still happening? Those seasonal cycles are still recurring, or right now are we just like out of whack? Like it hasn't really set back to some kind of.
So those seasonal adjustments still exist, but they no longer apply to the market as a whole. So once upon a time, we'll say, 20 years ago, the market was all like almost connected. Like everybody was like connected. And, if prices went up 5% in LA, they went up 5%. And, El Monte, they went up 5%. Pomona, like very, very consistently linked together. But now it doesn't exist anymore. The market is completely broken in that sense, in that specific neighborhoods, specific streets, it's micro markets.
Really?
Yeah, we've entered, in my opinion, an era of micro markets, where your neighbors really determine your home values.
Wow.
And that's why you go into areas with virtually no turnover, very low turnover, and the appraisals always come back short. But do the homes sell for less? No, they don't. These are usually affluent buyers, and they're easily covering the difference. They don't care. Yep. So like, for instance, where I live, very low turnover community, I had to pay like over 6 figures more than the property appraised for, because it was a once in a lifetime opportunity. Where I live, people leave for the most part in boxes. And you pass away, now there's a house for sale, because people just live there forever. Yeah. So there are certain neighborhoods that are established and people don't leave. Like me, I don't intend on leaving my property, like even if I don't live there for a couple years because we need a different place, or like I'm going to keep this property because I like the neighborhood, I like the people, I like what have you. So with all that being said and done, it's very market dependent. Right now, you go to certain markets, you can negotiate. You go to certain markets, you can't. You go to certain neighborhoods, they might have 1 to 3 offers. You go to other neighborhoods, you have 10 plus. And so, that link is broken. And I don't think that link will ever be restored.
Yeah, that's what I was going to go to, because do you think that changed after the '08 recession, or that really like broke it completely after the pandemic?
That's a good question. So in '08, '09, when the market went sank to the floor, I think that is essentially what really started that break. But I think the pandemic completely obliterated it, correct? Because when '08, '09 hit, the appreciation rates were still relative, but the depreciation rates, when they dropped, were not. There were communities in desirable neighborhoods where the pricing dropped 10%, 15%. And then you saw prices up in the high desert drop 70%. It's like, holy moly, 70%. I mean, you could buy houses out there for 20, 30 grand.
Wow.
That today are, 300, 350.
Yeah.
But they were just everywhere. I remember I had a sale in Victorville, and a third of the homes had for sale signs, and they were abandoned. These homes were just abandoned. It was scary. It was really weird, Yeah, now you look at today, you don't see that anywhere. You don't see abandoned neighborhoods. No. You see 3 families per house now sometimes, But back then it was like ghost towns. It was like, wow, where did everybody go?
True.
I guess they're still here because there's a lot of demand. So, I don't think we're ever going to go back to a relative market. I think now it's going to be very fragmented, and you really need a data analysis expert. Some people say, oh no, I want to work with an agent that's very local and only knows this area. Okay, that's cool too. But I would argue that the benefit to having an agent that works multiple markets is that they have familiarity as to what is working in every sub-market. They know where there's some, things you can lateral into your offers. It just makes you a better negotiator because you can talk about surrounding areas and surrounding trends. And now you just have more ammo at your disposal. At the end of the day, when you are negotiating and arguing, it comes down to knowledge. He or she that knows most is going to probably do better.
Right.
So we take great pride in knowing the local market trends of all of these communities because they're very different. Very, very different. And we're still consistently able to secure top dollar for our sellers in any market because we're really good at reading that data,
Okay, let's change it up a little bit.
Okay.
All right, but just because of how you were just describing. In being a real estate agent, is it Do you see it as a W-2 employee in the sense that it's kind of laid out for you? You come in, you do your work, and you go home, or is it more of a entrepreneur type where you have to figure it out how to get your own stuff? You have to create stuff. You have to sit there and plan things out, right? As an entrepreneur will, because nothing's laid out for them, right? Like say on a W-2 side, clock in, you kind of know what's on your plate, on your schedule. You do it, you go home, bada bing, bada boom.
Mm-hmm.
How is the lifestyle for a real estate agent? Is it more like entrepreneurial?
It's 100% entrepreneurial. I mean, we are independent contractors, so we get paid with the 1099, right? That makes our lives both easier and more difficult because you're right. When you're a wage earner, W-2, W-9, what have you, you punch in, you punch out, all your deductions are there. It's a short form, easy tax return, for the most part.
Yeah.
For us, you have to track your expenses, you have to track your miles, you have to track everything because you now have write-offs, right? Write-off potential, which is nice, but also it also limits you a little bit. So let's say that we're gonna go get a loan. It's so much easier, less paperwork, less headache, clearer ratios for a wage earner than for a business owner, because the business owners sometimes they write off too much. Sometimes, they claim too many losses, and even though they're grossing $1 million, by the time they're done chopping it, it's like, dude, you made 30 grand this year.
Yeah.
You can't buy a house.
Yeah.
And a lot of business owners are very surprised. They're like, well, what do you mean? I have all this money in the bank, blah, blah, blah. Well, yeah, you wrote off too much. So for a conventional loan process, it's a very, very different journey if you're a wage earner or self-employed or a business owner, what have you. But the good news is that there are banks that specialize in small business owners, that specialize in self-employed people. So their parameters are different. The rates are higher, but you can still get a loan. So that's the one difference is if you're a wage earner reporting 30 grand a year, you have no options. If you're a business owner reporting 30 grand a year, you might, especially if you have a lot of money in your bank account. Sometimes they will give you a bank statement loan where they just look at how much is left, how much is stacking, regardless of the tax return, because, it is what it is.
Okay, so as you said, this is 100% entrepreneurial because you're a 1099.
Oh,
you
yeah.
work, well, of course, off of commission, right? That's the standard.
That's standard for us, yeah.
Right. So if you don't go out and get it, it's not gonna come to you.
Nope.
Right. So you got to figure out, you got to plan, you got to think, and it's pretty much 16-hour shift because even when you're not in the office, you're probably still thinking about things.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
It's always there. Yeah.
It's like, oh well, I'm dealing, with this client, how can I make it work, negotiating tactics or anything of that sort.
And you're on call.
You're
Always
pretty much
on call.
Yeah. So in that sense, right, you going back, tying it to your, education, tying it to your upcomings. What really led you to taking this risk, taking this entrepreneur journey where the future is not as certain, right? I mean, nothing is ever guaranteed, regardless if you're a wage earner or not, right? But of course, you're a wage earner, you have some security, right? And then you could hopefully move up the corporate ladder, but that might take 30 years, depending, right? But what led you to taking this entrepreneur journey and saying, I want to create my team? How do you tie that back to previous experience or upcomings?
Well, for me, and I know this is going to sound arrogant, but it was a bet on me. I'll bet on me all day, every day. Yeah. If you have a winning anything, aren't you going to bet on it? Mm-hmm. So for me, I'm like, I am a winner. I make these wins happen, not because I'm relying on luck, not because I'm relying on fortune or on miracles or handouts, but more because I know what I'm capable of doing. I am betting that I'm going to wake up every morning and I'm going to make those calls. I'm betting that I'm going to follow up with my clients. I'm betting that I'm going to give them good service. I'm betting on all these things because I have control over those things. Yeah. So for me, it was a no-brainer bet. It's like, I have a passion for this. I'm good at this. Everything will align itself as long as I show up every day and I do my best. And thank God, that's been the case. And secondly is I like freedom. I don't like being in an office. I hate being in an office. Like, that's not my jam.
Yeah.
So I'm very much a field agent. So even within my organization and my team, you won't find me behind a desk too much. You won't find me in my office much. You'll find me in the field. I'm out there looking at properties. I'm out there going to city halls. I'm out there pulling permits. I'm out there doing things with clients in person because I'm a field guy.
Yeah.
That's what I like. And then we do have people that are office people because they like the AC and they like sitting in that comfortable chair and they type in. It's part of the job. This thing has to be done. But that's why, like, my whole team structure is about focusing and doing what you're good at. Focus and doing what you like so that it doesn't feel like work. Some people hate the field. They don't like going out there. They're like, oh no, it's uncomfortable. There's dust. There's debris. I've been exposed to everything.
Yeah, housing conditions are not
asbestos, lead, mold. I mean, realtors get again, it depends on the realtor. This realtor has been exposed to all of that stuff because I see a lot of fixer-uppers. I see a lot of messed up homes. I see homes that are in the budgets of our clients, and because we're trying to make a positive difference, most of our clients, as I mentioned, are not high net worth individuals. We're out here trying to make a difference. So we are constantly marketing to first-time home buyers, first-time investors. Like, we want to help you get there, and because real estate is such a journey. It's like, hey, if we help you get into that first home and how hard we work to help you accomplish that, you're going to be with us for the rest of your life too. For that first investment, you're going to call us. For that moving up, you're going to call us. And then eventually when you're old, for the downsize, you're going to call us. So every client, we see them as a long stream of relationship income, and we're going to give them that amazing service. We're going to give you that 1% service regardless of your price point. That's what we believe, and that's what we do, is everyone gets the same service. The closing gift will vary. But the service will be top-notch for everyone regardless of price point.
Right. Keeping them happy, transaction after transaction, creating that relationship and the lifelong clientele, and that stands for more, way more.
Exactly. Yeah, and what we're building here is not just for us. I'm not looking at one day I'm going to retire and that's going to be that. No, like, I'm building something with my team. We're all building something. We have children, and it's like our hope and desire is that one of our kids will continue our work. So we're not here for a short time or just a good time. We're looking at this future. Like, we want to build something that will outlast us all. If someday somebody says, dang, Stuart, you know what? It's so cool, the impact you had on the real estate industry. I would be so proud. Because it is my goal and my desire that all agents be honest, that all agents really, really respect the fiduciary duty. I can't tell you how many times we come between the sharks that are coming after people's assets. Those big time developers will come and they'll give you an offer and you think it's good. It's like, oh, my house is worth, for instance, we just had a deal right now where the property's comping out like at 850, 900 max, and the developer offered my client, at the time, what was it, 975. So my client's like, oh, that's pretty good, man. We're getting an extra 75 grand. But I was like, no, but there's all this redevelopment potential. We started, crunching some numbers. And I said, no, we need at least 1.1. And we ended up selling it for 1.175. So again, depends who you call, because other agents will be like, hey, yeah, let's get it done.
Yeah.
Finished. Quick. Vámonos, vámonos. But me, no, man. I said, no, we need to sweat this out. The escrow opened in October, and we're barely closing on Monday. October, November, December, January, February.
Yeah. Good.
You can't rush good results. So we offer the honest services that people need that aren't really out there. We don't cheat our clients. I know a lot of realtors go and they will shortchange their potential clients quick. It's like, hey, how about I buy your house from you? No commissions. I cover everything. Oh my goodness. Anybody ever knocks on your door and says, I'll do something for free, it's going to cost you way more than you think.
Probably so.
Way more than you think, you know. Should you get one of these cash offers, it doesn't matter if your property's destroyed, if it's all messed up, you know, with our knowledge and our guidance and our expertise, we're going to get you more money than any of those people promise you. And I can put that in writing. Say, hey, if I don't get you at least this much, I'll work for free. I won't even charge you a dime. Why? Because I'm a gambling man too. Remember, I told you, gamble on me all day. You know, I know my business. I know my market. I know my product. I know these things. So I can make these crazy promises because I know I'm going to win.
What matters most is you know yourself. You know your potential. You know what you can do, what you can't do. And if
Correct.
I'm guessing if you can't do it, you'll figure it out.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Exactly. If I think it can be done, I'll say I think it can be done.
Yeah.
You know, and thank God to date, we've delivered on every promise that we've been given the opportunity to fulfill.
Yeah. Is there something you think should be changed or can be changed within the real estate process that could make the whole experience, I mean, for realtors or for the clients better? Is there something that you think is just not right or redundant or does not make any sense?
That's a controversial question. You get me in trouble.
No, it's okay then. No, it's okay.
No, I'm saying it. You know, there's a lot of things, but I'll touch on a couple. You know, and a couple that I think would be really, really good changes. For instance, one practice I've begun to see is becoming very commonplace. Like maybe 15 years ago, you'd see it maybe 5% of offers, but now I'm seeing it in about 30% of offers, which is like 1 in 3, we'll say. Where the real estate agent, the buyer's agent, is passing on certain costs to the buyer. You know, the most common one is, for instance, a transaction coordinator. You know, what is a transaction coordinator? Well, that's a person or group of people. In my case, I have 3 of them. That work for me. Yeah, I pay them. You know, there's a cost to that.
Yeah.
But I internalize that cost, because that's part of my overhead. Why should my client pay for that?
Oh.
You know, but a lot of agents are passing on these costs to their clients, and I don't think that most people know. In fact, most people that knock on our door and they're first timers, they have an assumption that they have to pay us. Well, the way things currently are, and I'm glad they're this way, by the way, but they're activists and lobbyists and people trying to change this model, is the seller pays generally the commission for the whole thing. You know, when a listing agent takes a commission, you know, you see a percentage, whatever it is, but that agent will then split that commission with another potential partner and then work together. So it's not 2 fees, it's 1, right? But in layman's terms, the way the public interprets it is like, oh, the seller's paying for the buyer's agent and the seller's agent. And in fact, they are. But the reason for that, primarily, in my opinion, is when you're a first-time home buyer or home buyer, like you're already putting all your money into just buying the property. If you have to pay for your representation on top of that, it might not be possible. I think that would be a huge detriment to high-cost real estate areas like California. You know, but again, that's a whole nother conversation, and we could talk about that for days too. But that small change is just don't pass additional costs to the buyers. Like, it's already hard enough. I think that would be a good thing for the buyers. A second thing would be home warranty companies. So of course, you know, we work with a lot of home warranty companies, and we always promote that people have it, not have it. But truthfully, these home warranty companies, and I guess all insurance companies to a degree, it's very hard to get them to pay for anything.
Yeah.
You have to follow the proper procedure. You have to not say certain things. You know, you have to phrase things the right way, or else you shoot yourself in the foot. And I think that's pretty messed up. It's like, if you're going to have insurance, then the insurance should do what it was intended to do, is it should pay out when it's needed.
Yeah.
Instead of making it a circus and so difficult and discouraging people. You know, I've had clients with legitimate claims, and they say, you know what, forget it. I'm not even going to bother. They're making it so hard.
Right.
You know? So that would be something that, you know, if there would be some kind of legislation or policy change, is like, hey, make these insurance companies do their job, because they're really quick to collect.
Of course.
Really slow to pay.
Yes.
And I know that there's a lot of fraud and things that happen in that space, and that's why they are the way they are. But again, it's not fair to the legitimate small players that need things. It's like, why would you fraudulently damage something small, like your washer? It's like, oh yeah, I messed up my washer on purpose to get a new one.
Mm.
You know, most people don't want to go through the hassle. They're not going to mess with their stuff. It's like, hey, dude, the washer went bad.
Yeah.
You know, that's all. That's it. And dishwasher went bad. You know, the water heater went bad. But anyway, so, you know, I feel like those two little things would make our industry a little better. I feel like if we had some kind of transparency, rules or laws, you know, a lot of sadly, a lot of agents, because they don't produce a lot, they want to double end every deal, you know, where they represent the buyer and the seller. I think us in the last, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years, I think we've done it once or twice. And even then, the last one was another realtor. The realtor said, will you represent me? Because they didn't want to represent themselves in the purchase. They have their own business. They don't want to deal with their purchase when they're taking care of their clients.
Oh, right.
So again, I was like, okay, sure. So that's how you can gauge an agent's honesty. It's like if you are not double ending your deals, there's a good chance you're an honest agent. If you're double ending most of your deals, doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
You know, so if we were to have some sort of like where they have to publicly like post kind of like auction style, like where the offers are and things like that, because I can't tell you, and I won't name names because I don't want to get into any trouble or cause any troubles or anything, where my clients actually made a better offer, but they accepted, you know, their own offer that was lower, and it was like, well, was my offer ever presented?
Yeah,
Because that doesn't make sense.
Right.
And there's no way for us to contact the owner, you know,
course.
without breaching agency and being like, hey, did you ever even see my offer? Out of curiosity.
No.
You know, and you just have to wonder because you really don't know. So there's no accountability really for certain bad behaviors that happen consistently in real estate. But, you know, I think they keep it that way because it benefits, benefits the money.
Yeah. No, I think it just, you know, being right, you do this, you know, day in, day out, and you've been doing it for a while. Just like myself, you know, in my industry, I would say like, oh, if there's, you know, if we could change this and make the whole process, make the you know, everybody's experience better. It will, you know, speed up transactions. It will, you know, close houses. It will have, you know, more knowledgeable home buyers. It will, you know, it's just something, right? One input, right? And of course, if many others share the same, then maybe there could be a change, right? But of course, it's just one observation, you know, that hopefully could get a system just a little bit better.
Yeah,
That's
just
all.
more transparency,
Right.
more accountability. You know, these things would make the whole experience better for everyone.
Now, you know, I have my own place about it. You know, people I know have bought places, and you know, you talk to amongst friends, right, and everybody, and you know, everybody you talk to would say that real estate agents always say is the best time to buy now, right? It's always said, regardless, maybe throughout the whole, you know, start of this of real estate. But why do you feel is the best time now?
Okay.
If you feel.
Oh, for me, you know, I guess my answer would be similar, but distinctly different. In that the best time to buy is never now, so to speak. It's whenever you can. You see, because the way that appreciation happens, okay. And this is also a philosophical question in many ways and a fundamental question in many ways, but it becomes very simple. It's like, do you believe in the concept of inflation? Do you think inflation is real? You'd be surprised. Some people say, no, inflation, that's BS. There's no such thing. If you believe in inflation, right, then you know that by freezing time, because that's what a mortgage is you're freezing time, inflation is going to make your investment the best investment of your life. So I think it's a Chinese proverb, right, that says something along the lines of, when was the best time to plant a tree?
Oh, right.
Right? Well, the correct answer is yesterday, right? That was the best time to plant it.
Yeah.
When's the next best time?
Today.
And that's my approach to real estate. It's just that. Is there a better time to buy? Always. Is there a worse time to buy? Always. But it's always time to buy because you're freezing time. As long as the numbers make sense, as long as you can afford it, as long as you're not over leveraging, you know, these are things that lead to ruin. You know, I knew investors that over leveraged back in the 08, 09, 06 years. They had 20 properties and they were leveraged out. So when it they lost everything. That's not the way to invest. I mentioned earlier, I love to gamble, but not with my real estate. With real estate, I play to win. So if you are making moves that make sense today and you believe that inflation is very much a real thing, that move is only going to make more sense tomorrow and more sense the day after and even more sense the year after. 10 years later, you're going to be like, dude, I am so glad. Even if, let's say, you bought this property 10 years ago and it drops 10% in value, you're like, oh man, I've lost 10%. Let's say it drops another 10%. Oh my God, I lost 20%. But you can make the mortgage and it's a payment you're comfortable with. Does it matter? No. I tell people, you can tell me, Stuart, your property is worth $1. Do you think I'm going to sell it? I'm like, no, that's my house. I need a place to live.
Yeah.
And then that's the thing, market cycles. So like you touched on this earlier when you mentioned cycles, like to me, a market cycle is not a seasonal adjustment. There's seasonal adjustments and there's market cycles and they're independent of one another. But there's some interlap, of course. So with that being said, it doesn't matter if you buy at a high point. It's awesome if you buy at a low point, but you're never going to time the market.
Yeah.
You don't have the crystal ball. But the way you time the market for yourself is you make these moves, when they make sense to you. That's further separation. It's like, don't link yourself to everyone, the herd mentality, which is like, oh, there is a best time to buy, a worst time to buy. No, you make the moves when you can make them, because long term, you're going to win. And then you're going to regret, man, I wish I had done it. I can't tell you how many people I talk to that wish they had done things when they could. And I'm like, that's the magic word, is when you can, when you could, you do.
Yeah.
And then the rest is history. Yeah. So that's how I see it. That's how I preach it. That's how I live it.
Right. Makes sense. Makes sense, right? But of course, it's on the buyer. It's on the buyer.
Oh yeah,
the one buying.
It's on your own personal thing. And if are you comfortable?
You can make it work. Yeah, with what you have going on now.
Bingo.
Right. Regardless, given that yes, the times are not in the best of times considering interest, right? As what we had, 2 years ago or so.
Yeah,
it's not the best of time according to that. Yeah. But then if you think about it, right, 7%. But if we go back 25 years or more, interest rate was in the double digits. It was up there. So,
in the 80s, double digits,
and
70s, definitely double digits, even higher.
So if we go, however you see it for yourself, and of course it's a case by case. This is a individualized thing that you have to put together for yourself.
Oh yeah, but remember the upside to the theory that the rates may drop is you refinance and you have instant upside. Because it's like, dude, I just shaved off hundreds of dollars from my payment. That's awesome. It's theory number one. Yeah. And then there's the downside theory where it's like the rates could keep going up and you're going to be so grateful that you bought at that 7%.
Yeah.
Because we don't know what's going to happen. I tell people, don't take anything for granted. As long as it makes sense right then and there, that's all you worry about. You worry about today. Don't try to time the market. It's pointless.
Yeah.
And if the rates drop, dude, you make out like a bandit because they made sense today. Now you're winning. So that's why right now, in my opinion, if I had to choose between buying a home, a single family residence, or units, multi-residential, it's units all day. Because the multi-residential market has taken a beating with these interest rates. To own a home, it's a luxury right now. It has a high premium. It really does. In my opinion, single family residences are extremely overpriced. Yeah, I said. But you need a place to live. And if you want a house, then you're going to pay that premium because you want it. Yeah. But the other side of that conversation is that now multi-residential housing, having apartments, having units, those are on sale, bro. They're on clearance. I have sold triplexes in neighborhoods where one house in that neighborhood, $750. Triplex, 1.2.
Oh, no. Yeah.
I call that subsidized housing where you subsidize yourself.
Yeah.
It's like, I want to be in a certain neighborhood. I can't afford that $1 million mortgage. But if I drop $2 million, I'll get 4 of them.
Right.
Now I have some help. Now I can live in the neighborhood but I'm sharing space.
Yeah.
And that goes back to that whole thing is like, are you comfortable sharing space? Are you comfortable with the village mentality? Are you comfortable being uncomfortable for a short time?
Well, have a plan, have a strategy.
Have a plan, have a strategy. And then those units become your bouncing board, bro. It's like now you start saving, you start stacking, and then you do it again, but you don't sell those units. That's your pension now. You know, people say, oh my God, I don't have a pension anymore. You know, it used to be so easy. You can still build your own pension. One set of units. You pay them off in 20 years. That's realistic because the rent increases.
Right.
Your mortgage is not going up as high as your rents are on every property. Bro, in 20 years you pay that off. That's your pension. Yeah. Not only does it have equity value, it has monthly cash flow value. That's why, in my opinion, stock market, not a place for you. Not a place for most. You know, unless you really know what you're doing, you're going to lose. Real estate, that's lazy money. That's how you gain wealth chilling. Why? People need a place to live. People are used to paying for it. No brainer. My retirement is structured around real estate. It's the only investment I've never lost money in. You know, my Roth IRA, the 401k, dude, they've all lost money.
Yeah, of course.
You know, like, but again, it's cyclical, right? They go up, they go down, but because I'm not on it, that's not my business. It's just a gamble and it's growing at a very consistent pace. It goes up, it goes down, but it does not compare to the riches that real estate has produced for me.
Okay, so is there anything that I might have missed that you would like to add about you or your team?
No, I mean, we're you know, very in depth. You asked some very good questions. If I had to sum it up, you know, if you're looking to buy or sell real estate, we're very hardworking, we're very honest, and we have your best interests at heart.
Who do you admire that influences your business mentality? It can be somebody close, or it can be somebody you follow, social media, a guru, or anybody in that sense, if you have such.
You know, this is gonna sound weird, you know, but I really don't watch social media or TV or sports. I'm kind of weird in that respect. So if I had to choose a figure that I admire, it would probably be my ancestors. You know, I still very much practice what they taught their kids and what their kids taught me. And it's just your word is your bond. You only have one. Don't ruin it. You only have one reputation. Don't give it up for anybody. You know, defend what you believe in, fight for what you believe in, and just do what's right. So, sorry it wasn't more exciting.
No, it's great, man. It's great. That's what identifies us as person, though, our ancestors, right? And of course, our beliefs. Right? But no, that's great.
I'm passing that down on my kids too. I'm on them. I'm like, hey, shh.
Yeah, good. Okay.
Yeah.
What is one thing you have benefited from social media?
That's another tough one too, because I don't like social media.
Yeah, you mentioned it, but I mean, there has to be one thing. Like, I mean, it has a lot of
there's
good
benefits.
and bad.
There's a lot of good benefits.
But
So in our case, what it's given us is an opportunity to have conversations like this, you know, where you can look up our archives. It's also given me the ability to share with you what I'm doing. You know, when I see something really interesting, I gotta record it and be like, dude, what is going on? You know, so I like to point out really irregular outlier things because when you've seen thousands of homes, literally I've seen thousands of homes at this point, you know, and interacted with hundreds of people, hundreds of different homeowners, hundreds of different, you know, lifestyles, you start to appreciate outliers. You know, some outliers are good, some outliers are bad, but I appreciate them both because they're different. You know, there's average, and then there's unique. And to not get bored and keep it spicy and interesting, like I like to appreciate these outliers.
Real quick on that, I think it was on your story, maybe 2 weeks ago. You had showed a video where somebody had put closet doors upon entry of the kitchen and the living room. Do you recall it was sliding closet doors? Like they put the railing there?
Man, I trying to remember because 3 properties came to mind right now that had funky closets and funky things.
Well, this was closet doors in the living spaces, not in the rooms.
Now I remember exactly.
What'd you think
Oh
about that?
my gosh, the super janky, cheap. I called it a poor man's approach to the barn door
Yes,
concept.
yeah, you
Oh
did. That
my
was
God, they're the ones that had the sticker trim in the kitchen. You know the backsplash.
yes, that's true
There's a
too. You pointed
sticker.
that
I was like,
out.
what the heck? This is a sticker.
Yeah, that's
Okay, so there are things that certain investors will do to save cost. They want it to make nice, but they want it to be cheap. And I'm like, you should have just saved your money and not done anything. Leave it blank.
yeah.
You know, so that the next person doesn't have to undo it. You know, to me, waste is a cardinal sin in my home. You know, you never waste, ever. You know, and to me, that was all waste. It's like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
And yeah, it was 3 closet doors to separate the dining room from the living room.
So let's see. Okay, if you could visually remember it,
I remember it now fully.
give the listeners a walkthrough, right? Because they didn't probably see the story. I saw
Oh,
it
yeah,
and
they
I
didn't
was
see it.
like, "What?"
Yeah.
I didn't realize it, but as you pointed things out, so okay, what you remember?
Okay, so this was a relatively new construction. If I'm not mistaken, the house was built like in 2017 or something. So it wasn't even that old. That's why I didn't record the outside, but just from the inside, you can kind of see that it was either remodeled-ish, right, or it was just new construction. So this was a new construction project that somebody just went too cheap on. You know, every floor in the house was a different floor. So it was literally like the clearance, you know, like when you go to Home Depot,
But the flooring per room.
it was all different.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
So it just gives you a whole
One
picture of
design.
what these people are doing, right? It's like, dude, they bought the clearance pallet rack of every floor that they could find because it was probably 50 cents a square foot, and they did every floor, and they didn't even make the flooring go in the same direction. Some floors were diagonal at a 45-degree angle, some were horizontal, 180-degree angle, and it was just like they were pointing in all directions to make it even more chaotic.
Yeah.
So I was just like, oh my gosh, there's all kinds of different floors. You go into the restrooms, there's no common theme. Every vanity was different. Every mirror was different. Every hardware was different. Every finish was different. Some were brushed satin, some were chrome. And there was just no continuity. There was no theme. It was all chaos. But I understood why they did it.
Right.
Because I've gone to the stores. I'm like, oh man, I wish I had a little patio or a little restroom I needed to remodel because these are all super cheap.
Yeah.
So these people just go and they buy the cheapest, and they just boom, throw it into the house. And they think, whatever, someone's going to buy it. And someone is going to buy that, sadly. But they're not going to pay as much as they could have got if they had done the job right. So that comes back to people's approach to life. It's like, are you going to do a good job or a great job or just get the job done? That's it. And I believe in doing a great job. It takes more time. It takes more care. It takes more passion. And in fact, I dare say if you don't have passion, you're incapable of doing a great job because you don't care enough to do it. But me, this is my life. This is what I'm about. Like I wake up and I'm thinking real estate. I'm not thinking about the headaches involved with the real estate process or nothing, but I just have a deep appreciation for construction because like I said, that's my background. That's what we grew up with. So when I travel, oh man, I'm like the weird tourist that I like to see construction. I like to see foundations. I like to see, what they use to reinforce things. I like to see supporting beams. I like to see the structural components because to me, that's beautiful.
Yes.
It's like, oh man, this has been here for 2,000 years and I'm looking at it. I'm like, oh, that's how they did it. Oh, dang, this is what they did. Dude, that's so cool. But that's fascinating to me because I walk into homes that were built in the 50s and they're falling apart. I'm like, that's embarrassing. What in the world? So all comes down to just your view on life. But yeah, that property, you're right. I thought of 3 other ones because I see these janky projects all the time. But that one, that was especially sad because it was new construction. I was like, dude, what? You build this beautiful home and you don't dress it right. To me, it's the equivalent of like being in really good physical shape, but you dress like you're homeless, rags. And now it's like you're not really showcasing, your hard work. You did all the hard part and you skimped on, anyway.
But so stick on backsplash.
Yeah, bro, sticker backsplash.
Right. 2 sliding doors on the walkway between. It was the kitchen and the
It was
living area.
three.
3 was it?
Three little closet doors.
Yeah, so they were not the mirror ones. Imagine
No,
how
no,
that would have
no.
been. But they were the clear
Cheap
white
little white
and with the railing.
with the rail track,
Yeah,
all
the rail
original.
track. That was like, wow.
That was like, wow. So I like sharing those stories. You know, if you're into ever seeing crazy, weird, like I said, outliers, really cool and really not cool things, that's what I like to post on my feed. Yeah.
Yeah, that one was fun.
Right? It's like you got to see it to believe it, because you're like, no way. Oh, dang. No, it's real. Like, what?
Yeah, people do that.
People do that.
Okay, so next question. Any recent books, articles, or quotes you recently came by that you like to share?
No, not really. You know, again, I'm a strange person in that respect. I'm not a huge fan of fiction and things like that. I prefer nonfiction, so I mostly read data.
Right.
You know, I'm every morning I'm reading news, data, so I'm not really reading inspiration quotes or motivation books or self-improvement books or Harry Potters, or I just don't have time. You know, so I'm that boring guy that's just reading data and numbers, and that's what brings me comfort. You know, that's why, like, my definition of relaxing is I'll go, for instance, to a casino and I'll play cards. You know, I'm just running odds, running calculations. I'm always playing odds, so I find math very therapeutic, which is weird, I guess.
No, that's fine. It's what you do. I mean, well, okay.
So I wish I had a book to suggest to you guys, but I don't.
Not yet.
Not yet. Maybe when I retire and I have time again, because I used to be an avid reader. Like, I know a lot of old books that I read, and they were incredible. But nowadays, between being a father, a husband, real estate agent, team leader, it's like I don't have time.
Yeah.
Rather listen to music.
Good. How would you define wealth?
How would I define wealth? That's interesting. Defining wealth for me is just, it depends if you are looking at it as a spiritual achievement, right? Spiritual wealth, emotional wealth, interpersonal wealth, or just economic wealth. I mean, there are so many types of wealth in my mind. But it's easier for me to perhaps define a wealthy person. Like, to me, what is a wealthy person? It's somebody that owns their time. Like, to me, the ultimate epitome of wealth is to own your time. Whatever you want to do, you can do it.
Yeah.
And there's no consequence to it. If you want to go to the beach today, cool, go to the beach today. You want to have a barbecue with your family, have a barbecue with your family. You are a wealthy man when you can do whatever you want. That's it. And it's simplicity. Yeah. But in order to reach that level, you need to have your material wealth sorted out and secure. So the stage I am in my life right now is I am finalizing my investments. I'm really putting into motion my long-term, my next phase of my life assets, because that's what I need to do. I have 4 little kids. Well, 3. My wife's pregnant right now with our last, so I'll have 4 kids this year, God willing.
Congrats.
And thank you. And so I have to think about them. I have to plan for them. I want to make sure that their life journey, their experience is a lot better than mine. And it already has been. But how can I make it even better? Well, I'm instilling in them certain important things. And, this advice may come out as controversial perhaps to some of you, but I had this epiphany recently in that the most important skill, in my opinion, is communication. I am drilling into my kids' heads that you must become a master of communication. If you are not understood, doesn't matter how smart you are, doesn't matter if you're brilliant, no one's going to care. No one's going to listen because you cannot communicate that. So as long as you can speak up for yourself, as long as you can defend yourself, as long as you can defend others, as long as you can fight verbally with words, your life journey is going to be better than if you can't. Too many times I see injustices everywhere. Injustice here, injustice there. And I wonder, why didn't the person speak up? And sometimes, I'd go ask and say, hey, why didn't you say anything? They're like, I didn't know what to say. And to me, that was heartbroken. It was breaking. You know, it was like, oh my goodness, the thought that you cannot express yourself, oof, that's got to be the most important skill set, is just being able to communicate.
Yeah, it is a tough one though. It is. It's something you have to. I think you have to really try and try and try, and it's gonna something
Oh, yeah.
you perfect over time.
Oh,
By
yeah.
all means, right?
If you cared to.
Oh, no, if you care to, right? But if it is something, but yeah, some, of course, like everything else, some people are natural born athletes per se, and some other people will be just great at expressing themselves and communicating. And but if you're not, you can become.
Oh,
It
yeah.
just may cost you more than others because
Exactly.
everybody has their own.
Oh, yeah.
thing.
I wasn't. You know, I became a good communicator because of my major, because I went to college. If I hadn't gone to college, I'd be a different person today.
No, of course. Yeah, of course, you'll be a different person. I mean, but it's just, yeah, what your drive was on that, and what it led you, what you had to become, what you had to learn, and what you had to perfect, right? What advice would you give a younger you?
Advice I would give a younger me? Oof, well, this is going to sound hilarious, but I love my life that I have right now. So would I make a change? Probably not. Yeah, but speaking strictly hypothetically, I would have told myself to convince my parents to let me go attend West Point. You know, I've always had a strong relationship with military, law enforcement, you know, that type of mentality. And I actually did, 2 years of JROTC when I was in high school. I was the XO of my battalion, and, Major Mertz at the time, Sergeant Major Ellis, they said you should go to West Point. I was part of the academic division even within JROTC. Like, I competed in their trivia knowledge, program. So I wasn't just, good at everything else, but, I also had some smarts, some intelligence. And they said, you should do this. You were the right fit for it. And my parents didn't let me. I skipped a grade. So I was 17 years old when I graduated from high school, and you can't do anything without parental consent.
Oh, right.
So my parents said, look, you're too good for the military, essentially. You shouldn't waste your time in that. But that will always be a regret of mine in a sense, because I really felt like I would have done well there and I would be a different person today again. Yeah. That's why for my kids, I'm going to encourage them. I'm going to say, hey, if you have the desire to serve, if you have the desire to go into, military or whatever it is, go for it. Like, you're going to do great. Wherever it is, you can lend your talents to anything. And that's about it. That's the only thing I would tell my younger self is fight for that.
No, okay, then that ties back to your communication, though. That ties back to you being more expressive, to be able to fight for what you feel and be able to, talk to your parents or convince them, right? Because, of course, they see it in a different perspective, and you only know how you feel because it's you, right?
Yeah, and it also comes down to the simple thing is not understanding what you're offered. You see, at the time, my parents saw that opportunity as like, anyone could join the military. And me, being a young, poor kid from the hood, no one to ask, I did not understand the value of a West Point education either.
Okay.
So that's why I was like, I'll go to UC Davis. That's cool. I kind of want to go there. And I didn't go to UCLA. And this will be funny too. Most of my friends did. But I wanted like a chance to grow, and I needed to leave. So the closest place I could go where I was comfortable was up in Davis. And that's where I went, just for that reason. Now, it just so happened that it was also a great school, and, it hit all the checks and boxes of things I wanted to do post undergrad. But if I had understood how prestigious and valuable an education at West Point was, I would have fought for it. And that also leads to opportunity. It's like, it doesn't matter how many opportunities are presented to you in life. If you don't understand the value, you're going to give it away. You're going to throw it away. And I have given up so many opportunities just from ignorance. But I didn't stay ignorant. The point is, I went out there and I pushed myself to learn about the unknown. My world was this small when I was growing up. You know, it was just church, it was family, and that was it. That was my world. And I was like, but wait, there's so much more to it. And I had to learn it the hard way because I moved out of home at 17. I graduated from UC Davis at 21, and I never moved back home. So it's like, imagine, I lived 17 years with my family, and now I'm going to be 40 this year. I've been 23 on my own.
Yeah.
And that's very irregular and unusual too, you know. A lot of people my age are still living at home with their parents, you know, and that's cool, that's fine, but that's not what I wanted. I wanted more. I knew there was more, and I knew I was missing it, and I knew that my parents had given me everything they could, and I knew that I wanted to give my kids more because I knew there was things missing. But yeah, I always wonder, it's like, hey, you know, who knows? I could have been a general by now, you know? I could have implemented some good positive changes in the military, you know? I still, my heart is still very much filled with love for that population because I have a lot of friends, a lot of clients that did serve. And, you know, maybe God showed me kindness because who knows, maybe I could have gotten messed up too. I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't be here today. You just don't know.
You don't know.
But that will always be the one curiosity that, like, if I had a genie, I could be like, what would I have done if I had fought for this and gone the military route? But that's just a dream now. I mean, it's too late. I'm never gonna do that. You know, I'm too old. You know, totally different life. I'm happy. You know, I still want. But that's about realistically the only thing I would tell a younger version of myself is that. In that instance, I would have said, "Hey, fight for that. That's an incredible opportunity. You don't even know what you're giving up." Yeah. But then it'd be tough because I say, but if you don't do it, you're going to be happy. So you're like, oh, what am I going to do? Am I going to roll the dice or am I going to say, just stay on the course? You know, I'm going to be happy anyway.
No, but you never know. I mean,
you never know.
There's, like you said, you don't know the outcome.
You don't.
You're great where you're at. How it would have changed that, who knows?
Who knows?
But of course, the advice is for you to have fought for something you wanted, something you believed.
Correct.
At that point in time, right?
Correct.
And of course, life, as you know it, we'll figure it out. You have to figure it out. If it goes bad, you have to figure it out.
Exactly.
To make it go great. If it's going great, okay, you figure out how to keep it great.
Exactly.
That's just how it is.
That's just how it is. Yeah.
Okay. Which do you choose? Coffee or tequila?
Tequila.
Tequila.
That's easy.
No. It's just something like if you had to choose one or the other, but
tequila.
Yeah. What do you like?
Añejo. Extra añejo.
Extra añejo. Okay. Yeah. So you sip it more or less.
Oh yeah. No, I'm a sipper for sure. Okay. Like I appreciate these things. So, you know, I'm hefty. So I like to eat and drink. You know, and what I eat and what I drink is usually very good. Because I'm of that mindset that if it's going inside me, I want it to be good.
Great, yeah.
You know, I want it to be healthy. You know, I want it to be the best it can be. You know, will I drink tequila for the sake of drinking tequila? No, I will not. I will only drink good tequila. You know, and that's not good based on price point. I'm not here to flash nothing. I don't care if the tequila was $10 or $1,000. It has to be good. Because I've had bottles that are expensive that are not good.
Yeah.
I won't go into those. But the point is that I'm not impressed by brands. I'm not impressed by anything. I just want to have a good experience. You know, so the reason why I don't care for coffee is that I developed an allergy to caffeine, so I can't drink it. I used to love coffee. I used to drink it black because that's just how I roll. You know, I love the flavor. Boom, let's go. But now it makes me feel very sick, and I can't drink it. And I have enough energy. Like people say, "How are you so energetic without caffeine?" I'm like, I don't know, man. It's just who I am. But tequila, I enjoy good tequila with lots of my clients. You know, I have a lot of rancher clients, you know, a lot of, and we just get the bottle of tequila and we start talking, we start writing paperwork, and before I know it, we're half the bottle in, and then we go back to work.
Yeah, great. That's good. It depends, how, you know, whatever it is to you. And sucks that you had to cook coffee for that reason, but
it's all good.
Yeah, you adapt. We go
real quick. Yeah, I like tea.
Yeah, that's great. So if you could tell the listeners, the viewers, where can they reach you or one of your team members?
Okay, yeah. You guys can totally follow us on social media, which I'm sure he'll tag us in the video, Stuart Santana Real Estate. You can also call me at my cell phone, 626-274-6590. But truthfully, as long as you remember my name, Stuart Santana, you type that into Google, you will find me. And this trick works worldwide. I can't tell you how many free beers I've gotten, in different countries and different areas where I'm like, I bet you if you Google me, you'll find me. And it's like, yeah, right. There's no way. I'm like, yeah, don't even put real estate. Don't put California, just Stuart Santana. So, yeah, if you want to find me, I'm not hiding from anyone. Here I am. Give me a holler.
IRS, he's right here.
Right, IRS? Oh, they know where I live. They like those checks.
Right, yeah. No, that's good, that's good.
Ah, shucks.
Okay, guys, thank you all for tuning in. You heard it here first from Stuart. You go ahead and reach him. But hope you guys got a lot of golden nuggets like I did, right? This was a lot of great information. But tune in and go ahead and hit him up, right? Thank you guys for your time. So, legal disclosure, anything discussed here pertaining to home buying or home selling is for informational purpose only. If you like specific answers pertaining to your situation, please contact Santana Real Estate or your local real estate agent if you're listening to this outside of California. But again, this is for informational purpose only.